In the glittering expanse of a Miami mansion, where crystal chandeliers cast a golden glow and the chatter of the elite fills the air, a quiet figure stands out of place. Anna King, a 68-year-old woman with weathered hands and a heart full of memories. She's no stranger to this home, having cradled its master, Jason West, through a childhood shadowed by loss. But tonight, the scent of her homemade pie meets the cold scorn of Valerie West, Jason's glamorous wife, whose sharp words and sharper disdain turn a warm gesture into a public humiliation. Laughter ripples through the room, but beneath it, a storm brews. In the sprawling, opulent mansion of Jason West in Miami, every detail of luxury was on display. The high-ceilinged kitchen was illuminated by the soft, flickering glow of crystal chandeliers, their myriad facets scattering prismatic light across marble countertops and gleaming stainless steel appliances. The aroma of meticulously prepared haute cuisine, rich butter sauces, gourmet spices, and freshly baked bread, mingled with the subtle scent of expensive flower arrangements, creating an atmosphere that exuded sophistication and affluence. It was here, amid the quiet hum of the mansion's state-of-the-art kitchen and the distant murmur of party preparations echoing from the grand dining hall, that Anna King, the 68-year-old childhood nanny of millionaire Jason West, labored with a devoted humility. Dressed in a modest, faded floral dress and an apron that had seen countless meal preps over decades, Anna's weathered yet gentle features were softened by the memories of a lifetime spent caring for Jason since his youth. Her kind eyes held an ineffable depth of love and sacrifice, yet they now shimmered with the unshed tears of silent endurance. On this particular evening, as the mansion buzzed in anticipation of a lavish family celebration, Anna stood quietly in the spacious kitchen. The room, replete with the clinking of fine china being arranged and the subtle rustle of crisp table linens, was a sanctuary where old memories met new luxuries. However, what should have been a harmonious backdrop to joy and togetherness was about to be shattered by a moment of callous disdain. From the other end of the grand open-plan space, Valerie West, Jason's wife and a renowned socialite known for her icy elegance, made her way into the kitchen. Clad in an impeccably tailored designer dress that shimmered with every measured step, Valerie exuded an air of unyielding superiority. Her perfectly coiffed blonde hair and carefully applied makeup gave her an almost glamorous imperiousness that left little doubt about her self-assured status. With a dismissive glance toward the modest attire and unassuming presence of Anna, Valerie's eyes narrowed, and a sardonic smile curved on her lips. In one swift, merciless act that reverberated in the hushed luxury of the kitchen, Valerie snatched a large, lovingly baked homemade pie, Anna's own creation, crafted with years of heartfelt devotion, and hurled it into a nearby ornate trash bin. "We don't eat that trash, old lady. Keep out of my kitchen." Valerie's voice rang out sharply, a cutting mix of contempt and elitism that sliced through the refined atmosphere. The impact of her words, delivered in that precise, cold tone, was accentuated by the echo of her laughter, which soon blended with the mocking chuckles of the elegantly dressed guests lingering near the entrance. As the pie's remnants splattered against the pristine tile floor, a shudder of disbelief and pity rippled momentarily through the room. The guests, accustomed to polished manners and urbane conversation, exchanged glances and whispered remarks behind dainty purses and designer sunglasses. Yet among the glances and muted laughter, Anna's face crumpled inwardly. Her eyes, usually steady and kind, filled with tears, each tear a silent testament to the years of unassuming sacrifice and heartfelt care she had poured into her role as Jason's nanny. At the far side of the expansive kitchen, almost hidden by a grand set of double-paned glass doors leading to the dining room, Jason West stood in shadow. He had been mingling with the guests and overseeing the final preparations for the celebration when the commotion reached him. His brow furrowed as he caught snippets of conversation. Snickers, dismissive murmurs, and clear echoes of Valerie's derisive words. Standing silently, his face grew dark with a growing storm of emotions: shock, anger, and a profound sense of betrayal, the weight of his wife's cruelty pressing down upon him. Though he had always regarded Anna with the deep sentiment of gratitude for raising him after his mother's passing, His heart ached at the injustice meted out by Valerie, whose disdain for the very person who had nurtured him was now on full display. In that exquisite moment, as the luxurious clink of fine crystal and the delicate hum of conversation contrasted with the raw display of contempt in the kitchen, the stage was set. The tension was palpable, a silent promise of impending reckoning that would soon upend the carefully curated facade of high society in that Miami mansion. The scene, forever frozen in a heart-wrenching interplay of wealth and humiliation, left no doubt that this night was about to change everything. After the shocking incident in the kitchen, the atmosphere in the Miami mansion grew even more oppressive and charged with bitter tension. The lavish dining hall, with its gleaming crystal chandeliers and gleaming marble floors, now served as a cruel stage for the unfolding drama. Elegant guests who had arrived for the family celebration exchanged furtive glances and whispered comments. Their approval of Valerie West's harsh behavior mingled with uneasy discomfort. Meanwhile, the air of scented opulence, redolent of expensive dishes and exotic flowers, stood in stark contrast to the simmering cruelty taking place. Valerie West, resplendent in her perfectly tailored black dress adorned with subtle hints of gold, and her designer accessories glinting in the ambient light, moved through the spacious kitchen with an evident air of superiority. Her eyes, icy and unforgiving, swept over the room as if marking territory. Towering over the once gentle Anna King, Valerie launched into a tirade that rattled the very ambience of the mansion. "Anna?" Valerie sneered in a voice so cold it cut like a knife. "I simply cannot abide by this archaic mess you call a meal. We dine on cuisine prepared with refinement, not on your shabby, homemade concoctions." With a dismissive flick of her perfectly manicured hand, she ordered, "Clear the counters, wipe down every surface, and do it all promptly, so I don't have to witness your ineptitude any longer." Her tone, laden with condescension, left little room for disobedience. The guests, their laughter thinly veiled by polite smiles, appeared to support her unyielding command. Some of Valerie's companions nodded approvingly, their eyes glimmering with the thrill of watching someone reduced to servitude before them. The clamor of silverware, the quick shuffle of restrained footsteps, and the soft rustle of expensive fabrics served as a dissonant symphony to Anna's quiet, dignified silence as she carried out every order. Anna's delicate hands, worn with decades of labor, trembled ever so slightly as she methodically began cleaning every corner of the grand kitchen, her face betraying a sorrow that she fought to mask beneath years of humility and quiet grace. At the far end of the adjacent dining hall, behind a set of elegantly draped curtains, Jason West had been quietly overseeing the final preparations for the evening's gala. As he moved from one conversation to another, his attention was abruptly drawn by the unmistakable echo of Valerie's harsh commands. Standing discreetly in the shadows, he listened, his heart pounding faster with every derisive remark hurled at the woman who had cared for him like a mother. His face, usually relaxed in the glow of success, darkened noticeably as the laughter of the guests collided painfully with memories of Anna's selfless devotion over the years. Jason's eyes narrowed imperceptibly, burning with a growing, simmering anger that belied the placid veneer he had managed to maintain until that moment. Over by the polished counters, where the vibrant clinking of fine china intermingled with the soft strains of background music, Valerie continued her relentless verbal assault. "It's clear, isn't it? Some people never grow up. You should know your place," she declared, her voice echoing off the high ceilings, ensuring that every nearby ear was subjected to her biting words. At that moment, Anna's silent resolve seemed to make the entire room tense even further. Her tear-streaked cheeks shone with quiet determination as she bent low to carefully polish the pristine surfaces, each deliberate movement a testament to years of graceful endurance. The grandeur of the estate, its sparkling chandeliers, immaculately arranged floral displays, and lushly appointed decor, served as a cruel counterpoint to the petty cruelty unfolding in real time. Every sumptuous detail of the mansion now felt tainted by the discord of human arrogance and unfeeling prejudice. Around the room, a few sympathetic murmurs began to rise, barely audible under the formal laughter and forced chit-chat. A couple of guests exchanged glances that hinted at disapproval, their eyes glistening with regret as they looked past the glittering facade of wealth. Meanwhile, Jason's inner turmoil roiled. Memories of Anna's nurturing care played vividly in his mind as he recalled the countless sacrifices she had made, and his restrained anger grew to an almost palpable level. As Valerie's tirade reached a fever pitch and her orders rang out like a cacophony of disdain, Jason finally stepped forward from the shadows. His footsteps, measured and resolute, echoed on the marble floor as he advanced slowly toward the group, interjecting silently as he took in every detail of the ongoing humiliation. At that charged moment, time itself seemed to slow. The opulent vanity of the mansion was now counterweight by the intensity of raw emotion. Jason's eyes, alight with suppressed fury and betrayal, bore witness to every word of cruelty hurled at Anna. And then, as if the moment had reached its tipping point, Jason's fingertip brushed against his phone in his pocket. In a slow, deliberate motion, he unlocked it. His eyes flickered with a potent mix of anguish and indignation. The scene was set for an irrevocable act of retribution, a promise that the quiet sacrifices of the past would soon be vindicated. The silent rage in his gaze was unmistakable, a storm gathering at the horizon of the resplendent yet unforgiving estate. Later that evening, as twilight melted into the cool embrace of a Miami night, Jason West summoned his family into the resplendent main hall of his sprawling estate. The hall, a vast room adorned with intricate crown molding, polished hardwood floors, and walls decorated with antique portraits, buzzed with an uneasy tension. Soft, ambient lighting from opulent chandeliers cast a warm glow over the gathered relatives. Yet the air was heavy with unspoken resentments and brewing revelations. Jason, dressed immaculately in a tailored charcoal suit that accentuated his commanding presence, stood at the head of a long, gleaming mahogany table. His eyes, usually calm and composed, now burned with a steely determination as he surveyed the assembled faces. Among those present were Valerie West, his elegant but haughty wife whose features now betrayed a hint of apprehension, and Anna King, the beloved childhood nanny, whose time-worn yet kind face was etched with quiet dignity amid the discomfort of the moment. Family members and close friends watched from around the room, their expressions a mix of curiosity, sympathy, and anticipation. After a moment of heavy silence, Jason's voice, measured but rising with righteous authority, cut through the stillness. "Tonight, I stand before you not merely as Jason West, but as a man who has witnessed too much injustice in this very home." He began, his tone resonant. He paused, letting his words settle in the charged silence. "For years, Anna King has been a beacon of love, loyalty, and care. I recall the countless days when she nurtured me, guiding me through the shadows after my mother's passing. Her sacrifices, both seen and unseen, laid the foundation of what I am today." He lifted his eyes to meet those of the room. "And today, in the face of cruelty, as I listened to the callous words hurled at the one person who gave me a chance at life, I have made a decision." A murmur rippled across the hall as Jason produced an aged, leather-bound portfolio from behind the table. He opened it slowly, each deliberate movement drawing furtive glances from the onlookers. Inside were neatly preserved relics of yesteryear, yellowed letters written by Anna in elegant cursive, faded photographs of a young Jason in her caring arms, and a small, discreet recording device that had captured a conversation in which Valerie, his wife, had boasted about disposing of that nuisance once her position was secure. With a quiet gravitas that commanded attention, Jason laid each document and item on the polished surface before him. Effective immediately, he declared in a clear, unwavering voice, "I am rewriting my will." His words hung in the air like a challenge to the old order. "Anna King, for all that she has done for me and for our family, shall receive $50 million, half of my fortune." His announcement struck the room like a bolt of lightning. Gasps and murmurs erupted among the relatives. Some faces fell, others burned with indignation. Valerie's eyes widened in disbelief, her previously immaculate facade crumbling as she stammered, This is an outrage. How can you even consider such a thing?" Jason's gaze was unyielding as he fixed his eyes on Valerie. "Your actions have spoken louder than words," he replied, his tone icy. "For too long, you have undermined the one who nurtured me, belittled her with your conceit. And now, I demand accountability." He gestured to the portfolio. "These are not mere scraps of the past, but evidence of a legacy built on compassion and fidelity. Qualities you have refused to embrace." His voice softened momentarily as he turned toward Anna, who sat quietly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears of both gratitude and sorrow. "Anna, you have given me the strength to be who I am today. It is only right that you are rewarded for your endless love and sacrifice." A heavy silence fell as Jason's words sank in. The camera-like precision of his statements, coupled with the undeniable proof spread before him, left little room for argument. Family members exchanged murmurs in hushed tones, their conversation thick with shock and speculation. Even the sumptuous decor of the hall, the gilded mirror above the fireplace, the intricately woven Persian rug, the softly flickering candles, seemed to stand as mute witnesses to this dramatic turning of the tide. Valerie's protest faltered as Jason continued. "I also present a recording in which you, Valerie, admitted in a moment of reckless ambition that you intended to see Anna removed from our lives forever." Jason's hand trembled slightly as he replayed a brief excerpt from the recording. The sound of Valerie's haughty voice, laced with disdain, filled the hall. "This is not merely about money. It is about honor, respect, and the values upon which this family was built. I demand that you apologize to Anna publicly, or I will have no choice but to seek a divorce. Your vindictive behavior and your cruelty toward someone who has been like a mother to me will no longer go unchallenged." The room simmered with shock and tension. The faces of those gathered seemed to freeze for a moment. The gravity of Jason's announcement, the weight of decades of unacknowledged sacrifice, and the overwhelming injustice of Valerie's callousness now colliding in one defining moment. In that charged instant, as every eye bore witness to the unassailable evidence of truth, the old order began to crumble. The legacy of Anna's tenderness and loyalty was being enshrined, and the mafia of arrogance represented by Valerie was on the verge of toppling. A single tear slid down Anna's cheek as she looked on with quiet pride and pain. Behind her, Jason's resolute expression radiated a blend of righteous fury and deep personal sorrow. The tension in the hall was near palpable. A collective yearn for justice, for a recalibration of values that had long been skewed by pride and privilege. The atmosphere in the grand dining hall grew nearly suffocating as Jason West resumed control of the gathering with a handwritten portfolio held tightly in his hands. The room, resplendent with gilded mirrors and antique chandeliers that cast a warm, almost tear-inducing glow, was now a stage for a reckoning that had been years in the making. Every eye in the room, family members, close friends, and confidants alike, hung on Jason's every word as he rose from his seat at the long mahogany table. His expression was a mixture of sorrow, righteous anger, and unswerving determination, and for a moment, the opulent silence was broken only by the soft rustle of crisp paper and the occasional reverberating tick of an ornate grandfather clock. "Before me, you all see the legacy of a lifetime of sacrifices," Jason began, his voice firm and resonant. Slowly, he opened the leather-bound portfolio, revealing a collection of fragile, yellowed letters written in elegant cursive, the heartfelt messages of guidance from Anna King during his childhood. Interspersed among these were faded photographs capturing moments of tender care, images of a young Jason cradled in Anna's arms, smiling despite the hardships of a loss he had once barely understood. The evidence was more than mere memorabilia. It was a testament to Anna's unwavering devotion, her endless sacrifices, and the steadfast support that had shaped his life. With a measured gesture, Jason then slid aside a neatly folded envelope containing a printed transcript of a recording. He pressed a button on a small portable speaker-shaped device, and immediately, the once silent room was filled with a snippet of audio so damning it seemed to echo in every corner. The voice of Valerie West, usually so self-assured and brittle in its perfection, now rang out in a tone laced with venom. In this recording, captured during an offhand conversation among the elite at a previous social event, Valerie had coldly remarked, "I always thought Anna was a burden. When the opportunity comes, I'll have her gone for good. We can't have her dragging us down." Her words, explicit in their cruelty, sent a collective shudder through the assembled relatives. Jason's steady eyes glistened with both grief and fury as he let the recording play a few more seconds before hardening his tone. "This is not just a matter of business or even personal preference. It is a matter of honor," he declared, his gaze falling sternly on his wife Valerie. "For years, Anna has been the person who nurtured our family when we needed it most, while you, Valerie, have worked tirelessly to diminish her worth in every way imaginable." His voice was calm but carried the weight of a man who had nothing left to hide. Valerie's cheeks burned scarlet. Unable to ignore the undeniable evidence now laid bare before everyone, she raised a trembling hand and protested with a faltering voice. "This is preposterous. You're twisting my words. This isn't what I meant." But her protest was choked by the firm, unwavering tone of Jason, who continued, "Either you apologize publicly for your hateful remarks, or I will have no choice but to tear our marriage apart right now. I refuse to allow you to treat the one person who saved me from a life of darkness as disposable, as an inconvenience." Time itself seemed to suspend as the room fell into a hushed expectancy. The philanthropic legacy of Anna, so evident in the letters and photographs, now stood at odds with the arrogance and malice that Valerie had so carelessly exhibited. Family members exchanged glances, some with shock, others with a dawning sense of vindication, while the soft drone of the mansion's classical music seemed to underscore the gravity of the moment. Valerie's defiant eyes searched the room, once full of unwavering confidence, now reflecting insecurity and the scattered fragments of a reputation she had so meticulously built. Her lips parted, as if she might muster a retort, but the damning recordings and the flood of tangible evidence left her words hollow. In that ephemeral yet eternal moment, a silence so powerful descended that even the ornate chandeliers appeared to weep in unison. Finally, with her voice barely above a whisper and tears threatening to spill over, Valerie's resistance crumbled. I'm sorry, Anna," she choked, her words fragile and empty compared to the emphatic tone Jason had demanded. The forced apology hung in the air, a bitter concession to the unavoidable truth. The murmurs in the room surged into a mixture of relieved applause and stunned silence as Anna King, dignified even in her sorrow, simply bowed her head in quiet acceptance. Thus, the long-suppressed truth was finally laid bare. A truth that vindicated years of silent sacrifices and shattered a facade built on arrogance. In the sumptuous dining hall of Jason West's mansion, where wealth and privilege had once reigned supreme, a structural shift in the family hierarchy was set into irreversible motion, marking the beginning of a new era of respect and accountability. In the weeks following the explosive family meeting, the grand mansion became the arena for irreversible change. Jason West's decision to rewrite his will sent shockwaves throughout their elite social circle and the wider Miami community. At a meticulously arranged private ceremony held in the mansion's lush gardens, under a sky streaked with the vibrant hues of a Florida sunset, Jason formally announced that Anna King, the devoted nanny who had nurtured him through his darkest times, was to receive not only $50 million but also a magnificent home of her own. The new house, an elegant estate nestled in a quiet, verdant neighborhood of Miami Beach, was to be a sanctuary for Anna, a place where she could live with dignity and independence after decades of selfless service. The announcement was made with a gravitas that filled the gathering. Jason, standing before a semicircle of family members, close friends, and a few media influencers, held the leather-bound portfolio containing the old letters and cherished photographs as a silent witness to his heartfelt tribute. "Anna," he pronounced, his voice both tender and unyielding, "for all your sacrifices, the love you gave when I had none, you deserve a life free from the shadow of cruelty. Today, you are not just rewarded with money, but with a home where you can be celebrated for who you are." His words, delivered with a quiet authority, were met with spontaneous applause and tearful nods from those who had witnessed Anna's devotion over the years. As the applause rang out, a tangible shift rippled through the room. Valerie West, who had once commanded attention with her icy demeanor and lavish style, now appeared diminished, her influence swiftly unraveling. In the same moment that Jason's resolute decision lifted Anna's spirit, whispers began weaving through the corridors of Miami's high society. Longtime acquaintances and former admirers of Valerie started questioning her behavior, and invitations to exclusive events she once took for granted dwindled almost overnight. At the celebration, Valerie's protests were met with cold stares and murmurs of disapproval from peers who previously celebrated her as a social icon. "How can you treat someone like Anna?" one guest whispered under his breath. Her once pristine reputation suffered further as the charitable foundations and philanthropic clubs, with which she had once been closely associated, distanced themselves from her. The bitter taste of her public disgrace contrasted starkly with the joy and relief evident on Anna's face as she accepted Jason's heartfelt gesture. Outside the mansion, the Miami press exploded with coverage of the scandal. Headlines such as "Heart over Haughtiness," "Jason West defends his childhood nanny with a life-changing gift," and "Socialite fall, Valerie West's reign ends in public humiliation," ran in countless newspapers and online outlets. Television news segments dissected every element of the saga, from the shameless display of contempt in the mansion's immaculate kitchen to the tearful but dignified acceptance of the historic decision by Anna. Interviews with longtime friends and family members painted an evocative portrait of a woman who had spent her life in the shadows and was finally stepping into the light. In the midst of it all, Anna retreated to her new, elegantly appointed home, an oasis of tranquility far removed from the cutthroat glimmer of high society. With walls filled with memories of her past and a taste of newfound freedom, she began to rebuild her life on her own terms. Moreover, she soon dedicated her time to several charitable organizations that supported disadvantaged caregivers like herself. In doing so, she not only found solace but also became a beacon of hope for others who had long suffered in silence. As Miami buzzed with debates on social media and at exclusive gatherings about the scandal, Jason and Anna's act of valor became more than a family decision. It evolved into a symbol of courage and accountability that challenged entrenched elitism. Meanwhile, Valerie was forced to confront the harsh reality of her isolation. Her status, once untouchable, had been irrevocably tarnished by her cruelty. In the weeks that followed the tumultuous family showdown at the West Mansion, Miami buzzed with whispered conversations and relentless news coverage. Invitations to exclusive parties were canceled at the last minute, and the glittering social scene that Valerie once dominated was now riddled with uneasy glances and murmured disapprovals. At private gatherings and in the opulent hallways of high-end clubs, the story of Jason West's dramatic will revision and Anna King's vindication became the subject of intense debate. Headlines in glossy magazines and online articles proclaimed, "From humiliation to honor, the West family scandal shakes Miami's elite," while social media hashtags such as #RespectReclaimed and #WestLegacy trended for days. Within the family, the dramatic events had irrevocably reshaped relationships. Jason and Anna, once connected only by a shared past and a sense of duty, had grown as close as true family. At long, quiet evenings spent in the study of Jason's private library, the two would reminisce about the many years that Anna had nurtured him after his mother's death. And with every recollection, their bond deepened. Jason, his sophisticated and refined demeanor softened by genuine gratitude, would place a gentle hand on Anna's weathered shoulder, expressing his heartfelt thanks. "You taught me more than any lesson in a book," he would say quietly, his eyes brimming with unshed tears of appreciation. Anna, in turn, though still marked by the scars of humiliation, felt a renewed sense of purpose and belonging. She was no longer the unsung caretaker, but a celebrated guardian of the West legacy. Meanwhile, Valerie West found herself increasingly estranged. Once the center of high society, her reputation had been tarnished by the public humiliation and the irrefutable evidence of her cruelty. Invitations to elite events dried up as former friends and acquaintances distanced themselves, whispering about her fall from grace. In the gilded solitude of her once lavish dressing room, Valerie sat alone, her eyes vacant and her spirited arrogance replaced by a crushing sense of isolation. Her forced apology had done little to restore the image she had so carefully maintained, and as news outlets dissected her actions, she retreated further into herself, a cautionary figure whose influence had evaporated in the wake of overwhelming accountability. Outside the mansion, Miami's vibrant streets and luxurious neighborhoods became the stage for widespread reflection on the scandal. Community leaders and local politicians cited the West family saga in public forums and debates as a turning point that underscored the importance of treating every individual with dignity and respect, regardless of wealth or status. Schools and businesses launched initiatives aimed at curbing bullying and harassment, inspired by the powerful example set by Jason's decision to honor the person who had been the family's silent hero. The once insular world of Miami's elite began to widen, as citizens from all walks of life demanded transparency, fairness, and genuine respect in every aspect of social, public, and private life. In a particularly poignant moment at a charity gala organized by the West family to support underprivileged caregivers, Jason took to the stage and humbly credited Anna for his success. "All my fortunes and accolades," he declared, "are built upon the love and sacrifice of one extraordinary woman. Today, we honor her, and through her example, inspire a new generation to stand up for what is right." His words drew cheers and heartfelt applause from an audience that included not only longtime family friends, but also community members whose lives had been touched by the family's new commitment to social responsibility. As the city of Miami absorbed the lessons of the scandal, the legacy of that fateful day began to morph into a symbol of redemption and bold accountability. While the echo of harsh judgment still lingered in hushed conversations, it also served as a catalyst for a broader cultural shift, a rejection of elitist cruelty in favor of empathy, support, and shared responsibility. In quiet coffee shops and sunlit parks, discussions flourished about the duty of those in power to lift others up, and the importance of not turning a blind eye to injustice, no matter how deeply embedded it might be. Now, as the West family moved forward, with Jason and Anna forging an even closer bond and channeling their experiences into meaningful philanthropic ventures, and Valerie vanishing into the dark corners of social obscurity, a new era seemed to dawn. Miami, a city known for its dazzling glamour and fierce ambition, was slowly embracing the notion that true strength came from humility and genuine care for one another. I hope you enjoyed this story. Leave a comment, sharing your thoughts about it. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new and equally exciting stories. See you in the next video.